The twin suns of Arendar rose over silver towers that reached toward a violet sky. The city of the alien queen shimmered like a dream, filled with crystal domes and light that flowed through the air like water. The people of Arendar, proud and covered with soft, luminous skin, moved with calm grace. They were known across the galaxy as one of the most advanced races, proud of their power and long history. Inside the royal hall, the young Queen Lysera stood dressed in pale blue armor and gold robes. Her crown was made of light and energy, circling her head like a halo. She was calm and beautiful, but her golden eyes held no joy. Today was her wedding day. Her heart felt strangely heavy. She was to marry a human. The word itself carried unease among her people. To the proud Arendorians, humans were a weak and simple race from a small blue planet, known for stubbornness more than wisdom. But the Council had decided that a political union with Earth would strengthen peace between both worlds. The Queen had agreed, though privately, she believed it was an insult. Her chosen husband, Ethan Cole, was an Earth envoy. He had no royal blood, no glowing skin, no telepathic strength. He was, to her eyes, plain and unremarkable. He had brown hair, steady gray eyes, and a quiet voice that never rose even when the alien nobles mocked him in whispers. When he entered the hall, the crowd grew silent. Lysera studied him carefully. He wore a simple black suit, not the rich armor of her kind. His posture was straight, but his expression calm. He bowed slightly to her, not deeply, but with a quiet respect that seemed natural, not forced. The ceremony was brief. Lysera spoke the royal vow, and Ethan repeated the human version. The light bands around their wrists glowed softly, binding their names in both languages. The hall filled with polite applause. But the Queen could sense the doubt in the air. Later, as they stood on the palace balcony overlooking the shining city, Lysera spoke first. "You understand this marriage is symbolic," she said softly, her voice like glass. "It does not mean we share duties or emotions." Ethan looked at her with a faint smile. "I understand," he said simply. "Sometimes peace requires symbols." His calmness annoyed her. She expected him to be nervous, maybe even proud to stand beside a queen. Instead, he seemed completely at ease, as if standing with an alien ruler was ordinary. Over the next few days, Lysera returned to her royal work. She held council meetings, received reports from border worlds, and settled disputes among nobles. Ethan stayed mostly silent beside her, listening but rarely speaking. When asked for his opinion, he always gave short, clear answers. Some ministers found it amusing. Others found it unsettling. One morning, during a meeting, an engineer rushed in, shouting that the energy reactor beneath the palace had failed. The shields protecting the capital were dropping fast. Panic filled the room. Lysera ordered her guards to lock the lower levels, but Ethan stood up calmly. "Where is your main control console?" he asked. The chief engineer hesitated. "You wouldn't understand our systems," he said. "Human technology is different," Ethan interrupted softly. "Not weaker, without waiting." He walked toward the reactor chamber. Lysera followed out of curiosity, her guards behind her. When they reached the control room, sparks were flying. Alien technicians shouted numbers she couldn't follow, but Ethan didn't panic. He studied the control board for only a moment, then began typing in commands on a side panel using a small device he carried from Earth. "What are you doing?" Lysera asked sharply. "Rerouting your energy flow," Ethan said. "Your stabilizers are out of sync. You're trying to fix them from the top layer when the fault started at the core link." The engineers froze as the readings on their screens suddenly balanced. The reactor hummed smoothly again, and the lights across the palace brightened. Lysera stared at him. "You fixed it?" He only nodded. "You were seconds away from a shield collapse." The room fell silent. The alien engineers, who moments ago had looked down on him, now looked at him with quiet respect. Lysera said nothing more, but her thoughts were restless that night. Who was this man? He did not look strong. He did not act proud. And yet, he had stopped a disaster her own scientists could not prevent. A week later, The royal fleet returned from patrol near the outer colonies. They brought troubling news. Rebel activity was growing in the distant sectors. Lysera's generals demanded new troops and weapons. Ethan listened quietly during the meeting. Afterward, when they were alone in the Garden of Light, Lysera asked, "Why do humans always stay calm, even in chaos?" Ethan smiled faintly. "We learned long ago that panic solves nothing," he said. "On Earth, survival often depended on steady hands." Lysera looked at him, trying to understand. "Your world was always at war, wasn't it?" "For a long time," he said quietly. "But some of us believed we could do better. That's why I came here, to see if peace is possible among stars." His voice carried no arrogance, only a quiet sadness. For the first time, Lysera saw something human she had never noticed before: deep patience. As if he had endured many storms. Days passed. She began to observe him differently. When he spoke with her guards, they listened. When he walked through the city, the citizens greeted him with curiosity, not fear. He treated everyone the same: nobles, servants, soldiers, and never once used his position for advantage. But something else began to stir within the palace walls. One of Lysera's rivals, Lord Vale, despised the human. To him, the marriage was a stain on alien pride. Secretly, Vale gathered his followers and planned to remove both the queen and her consort in one strike. The attack came on the night of the royal banquet. The great hall was filled with guests from every star system. Lysera sat on her high throne, and Ethan stood beside her in quiet dignity. Music echoed through the chamber, and lights shimmered in the air. Then the lights flickered. A moment later, the palace alarms screamed. From the tall doors burst armed rebels, their armor black and gleaming. Gas filled the room as guests screamed. Guards drew their weapons, but chaos broke their formation. Lysera stood quickly, calling out orders, but the traitors struck fast. One lunged toward her, the blade raised high. Ethan moved before anyone else could react. His hand caught the attacker's wrist with a grip that looked impossible for a human. With one swift motion, he twisted the weapon away and struck the soldier's chest, not with rage, but with control. The alien fell back, stunned, armor dented. For a moment, everyone froze. The sound of battle faded. Ethan turned slowly, his eyes shining faintly with blue light. Lysera's heart skipped a beat. That light was not normal. Another rebel charged. Ethan stepped aside, grabbed the enemy's shoulder, and knocked him out with a precise blow. His movements were faster than any alien warrior. There was no wasted motion. Every strike was perfect. Every step calm. "Stay behind me," he said to Lysera. His tone firm but steady. She wanted to protest, but something in his voice made her stop. He fought not like a common soldier, but like someone who had trained his whole life in the art of control. When the guards regrouped, Ethan shouted clear, sharp orders. "Seal the east doors. Move civilians to the upper hall. You disable that drone before it overloads." The guards obeyed him instinctively. Even Lysera found herself following his lead. In minutes, the chaos turned into strategy. The rebels were forced back toward the corridor. As the last attacker fell, silence filled the hall again. Lysera stood among the wreckage, breathing heavily. Ethan turned to her. His right sleeve was torn, revealing a faint metallic pattern under his skin-like armor fused with flesh. Her eyes widened. "What are you?" she whispered. He looked at her, calm as always. "Later," he said quietly. "You're safe now." She wanted to demand answers, but the way he looked at her, gentle, steady, almost protective, made her words fade. The rebels were captured, the hall secured, and the night ended in uneasy silence. When morning came, rumors spread across the empire. They said the human consort fought like a machine, that his eyes glowed like a storm, that he could command soldiers without fear. The council called it impossible, but Lysera had seen it with her own eyes. She summoned Ethan to her chamber. He entered calmly, dressed in his usual dark uniform. "You were not honest with me," she said, standing near the window. He nodded slightly. "No, but I never meant harm." You moved like an enhanced warrior, she said. Your strength is not natural. Tell me the truth. Ethan was silent for a moment. Then he said, What would you have done if I had told you I wasn't ordinary? Lysera frowned. I would have thought you were lying. Exactly, he replied softly. Sometimes, truth only earns disbelief. She looked at him for a long moment. Then who are you, Ethan Cole? He gave a small, tired smile. Someone who came to keep a promise. Someone who wanted to see if humans could build peace without destroying themselves again. His words carried mystery and pain. Lysera felt a strange emotion stir in her chest, curiosity, mixed with respect. She realized she had judged him too soon. Beneath his calm face was something deep and unshakable. That night, she walked the balcony alone. Her mind replayed every moment: the reactor, the banquet, his steady eyes. The city below glowed with peace, unaware that their queen's husband might be far more than he seemed. Lysera touched the faint light band around her wrist, still bound to his name. She had thought it only a symbol of duty, but now it felt like the start of something greater, something she didn't yet understand. And somewhere behind her, the suns rose pale and quiet over the silver world of Arendar. The city looked peaceful again after the rebel attack. But inside the royal palace, unease hung in the air like dust that refused to settle. The queen had not slept. She sat by the wide window of her chamber, still hearing the echoes of that night Athen's calm voice giving orders, his eyes glowing blue in the dark, the rebels falling back under his strange control. She had once believed she married a simple man from a simple world. Now she wasn't sure who stood beside her. Ethan moved through the palace halls as if nothing had changed. He spoke politely to the guards, helped repair broken panels, and comforted frightened staff. But wherever he walked, whispers followed. Some called him a savior. Others called him a weapon in disguise. The Council of Elders demanded an explanation. Lysera sat at the head of the great chamber while the ministers questioned her husband like a criminal. Ethan stood calmly before them, hands folded behind his back. State your origin, one of the elders demanded. No common human can do what you did. You carry forbidden technology. Ethan's voice was even. I was born on Earth, he said. I served as a peacekeeper for my people. The enhancements I carry are human, nothing alien. Enhancements? Another counselor repeated sharply. You mean your body is artificial? Partly, Ethan said. Not for war. For endurance? For survival, the council erupted in murmurs. Lysera watched quietly. She'd expected him to deny it. But he didn't. He spoke like someone with nothing left to hide. Finally, the head elder said coldly, Your presence threatens the balance of our alliance. You will remain confined until we understand your true nature. Lysera rose from her seat. He saved us all, she said. He repaired the shields. He stopped the rebels. You call that a threat? But the elders did not listen. 2 guards stepped forward. Ethan didn't resist. He simply bowed his head to the queen and said, It's all right. Lysera wanted to stop them, but his calm expression told her to wait. They placed Ethan in a sealed chamber deep beneath the palace. It was a clean, bright room, but no window opened to the sky. Alone, he sat in silence, his thoughts turning toward, Earth toward, the past he had hoped to leave behind. He had not lied to her. He had been part of the last human peace force, created after the final wars that nearly ended Earth. Humanity had learned too late that strength without compassion only leads to ashes. The project that made him was not to conquer, but to rebuild, to test if humans could carry power without losing their hearts again. He had volunteered for it. He never thought he would end. Up on a world ruled by a proud alien queen. Up above, Lysera struggled to calm her people. The nobles feared that humans had hidden armies waiting to invade. Her own generals warned her that the marriage might destroy her crown. Yet when she looked at the empty seat beside her in the council chamber, she felt only one thing: regret. That night, she went down alone to see him. The guards hesitated, but stepped aside when they saw her face. Ethan sat quietly, his back straight, his eyes calm. I thought you would come, he said softly. Lysera stepped forward. You lied to me, she said. I didn't, he replied. I only hid what you wouldn't believe. We're not a normal man. He smiled faintly. No one truly is. Not when they carry the weight of a whole world. Her anger faded. She sat across from him. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted you to see the man first, not the machine. Lysera looked at his hands steady, human, yet she could still remember how they glowed when he fought. Were you made to fight? She asked. I was made to protect, he said. On Earth we lost many lives before we learned that real strength is not in power but in mercy. When they sent me here, they told me to guard peace, not to rule, not to harm. She stared into his gray eyes and saw no deception. Only truth and something deeper she couldn't name. I don't know if my people will ever trust you again, she whispered. Then I'll earn it, Ethan said. Even if it takes my life. Something in his voice broke the cold shell around her heart. She had ruled alone since childhood, always judged, always strong. But now, in front of this quiet human, she felt seen in a way no one else had ever managed. Before she could answer, the floor beneath them shook. Sirens blared again through the palace. The guard outside shouted, Your Majesty. The northern defense wall has fallen. Lysera rose at once. Who attacks? The guard's voice trembled. Lord Vale's fleet, Majesty? He has returned with allies from the outer systems. Lysera's blood turned cold. Vale had escaped capture. Now he came back with a whole army. The palace turned into chaos. Airships filled the sky, firing energy bolts that shook the towers. The city's shields flickered under the assault. The council ordered evacuation. Lysera refused. This is my world, she said. I will not abandon it. She ran to the control deck. Ethan was brought up by the guards at her order. When he appeared, dusty but calm, the room seemed to steady itself. I thought you were confined, she said. I was, he replied. But your guards believed you would need me. They were right. Outside explosions painted the horizon in fire. Lysera's generals shouted plans. But nothing worked. The enemy's weapons pierced their defenses. Ethan stepped to the console. You're routing power through secondary grids again, he said quickly. That's why your shields are failing. The chief engineer blinked. What do you suggest? Let me handle it. He pressed his hand against the panel. The small metallic lines beneath his skin began to glow. The console responded as if recognizing him. Energy surged back into the main grid. The Queen watched in awe as the shields flickered and then solidified, bright and strong again. How did you do that? She whispered. Your systems run on light frequencies, he said. Humans use them just differently. I tuned them together. The generals stared at him with silent wonder. Lysera gave the order to launch defense drones. The battle lit up the sky like a storm of suns. But Vale's fleet was large, and the palace walls trembled with every hit. Finally, Ethan turned to her. Your Majesty, you must go to the lower shelter. I will not run, she said firmly. Then at least let me go outside, he said. I can stop their lead cruiser. Her eyes widened. You'll be killed. Maybe, he said quietly. But better me than your people. Before she could stop him, he stepped onto the launch deck. The guards tried to follow, but he raised his hand. Stay back. This is my fight. The wind roared as he walked out onto the open platform. Above him, Vale's warship hovered, a black shadow covering the stars. Cannons turned toward him, their red glow growing. Ethan took a deep breath. His wrist device unlocked with a faint click. The blue light spread across his arms, chest, and neck-thin lines, forming an armor that looked alive. His eyes glowed bright now, reflecting the fury of the sky. He raised his hand toward the warship. Energy rippled through the air like a wave. From within the palace, Lysera watched through the viewing screen. Her breath caught as Ethan's body glimmered with white heat. A pulse of light shot from him, curving upward like lightning. It struck the cruiser's shield, shattered it, and sent the massive ship tilting in the air. The soldiers in the control room gasped. He's controlling pure energy. One whispered. Ethan dropped to one knee, the light fading. Smoke rose from the wreckage above. The enemy fleet faltered, but Vale's voice echoed over the comlink, furious and proud. You think one human can stop us? You are nothing, Cole. This world belongs to the strong. Ethan looked up. Then you'll learn what strength really means. He pressed his palm to the ground. The human tech interface inside him connected to the city's defense grid. The towers came alive, firing beams of blue energy into the enemy ships. One by one, the invaders fell. Inside, Lysera stood frozen. She could feel the power pulsing through her city like a heartbeat, centered on him. For the first time, she understood. He wasn't just strong, he was holding back, always careful not to harm more than needed. The last ship broke apart in flames. The sky cleared. Silence returned. When the smoke settled, Ethan collapsed on the platform. His armor dimmed and vanished. Lysera ran to him, ignoring everyone's shouts. She knelt beside him, her hand trembling. "Ethan," she whispered, "can you hear me?" He opened his eyes slowly. "Still here?" he said weakly, smiling. "Told you I could handle it." Tears filled her eyes, but she smiled back. "You've saved us all," he shook his head. "No, I only reminded them what peace costs." She touched his face gently. "You fool. You nearly died." "Better than watching you fall," he murmured. His words pierced her heart. She realized then that what she had once called a political marriage had become something far more real. Days later, the city began to rebuild. The council apologized for doubting him. Across the empire, songs were sung about the human protector. But Ethan refused titles. He stayed quietly beside the queen, helping restore what was lost. One evening, Lysera stood with him on the same balcony where their uneasy marriage had begun. The suns dipped behind the silver mountains, painting the sky in gold and violet. She looked at him and said softly, "When I first met you, I thought you were fragile." He smiled. "And now?" "Now, I know I was wrong," she said, "but not because of your strength. Because of your heart." He looked at her gently. "Strength means nothing without mercy. You've taught me that too." They stood together as the stars came alive above them. The scars on the city still glowed faintly, but hope burned brighter.